is so great to be back. I'm Mr. Van Kauenberg here at the junior high school, and this is going to be the remote functional strength training workout number 1. We're going to do a different functional strength training workout every week that you can do right at home with little to no equipment. We're going to have a video posted for you with all the descriptions, examples, give you all the information you need. You're going to complete the workout on your own, again, once a week, and then you're going to enter some information on a form telling us how it went and a couple of questions based on the video. So, challenge yourself, but make sure you're modifying to make sure that everything you're doing is done 100% correctly. I'll talk about a few different modifications and progressions and things like that. So just make sure whatever you do, you're doing it correctly. Make sure whatever you do, there's no pain involved whatsoever. So let's have a lot of fun here. Let's get a great workout, and let's make sure, again, everything looks great when we're doing it. So as you go through that Google form, the first thing we're going to talk about is heart rate. Now this is going to be a functional strength training workout, but what we want to do is also keep track of our heart rate. Not only can you increase strength and mobility and all of these different things through these strength training exercises, but you can also improve your cardiovascular endurance and wellness as well. So I kind of want to show you how that's going to work. So how do I find my resting heart rate or my heart rate at all? First of all, you're going to need a clock, whether it's a stopwatch or something that has seconds on it. The next thing, you're going to take your 2 fingers, find your neck, right where your Adam's apple is, and slide it into that little gap between this muscle on the side of your neck and that windpipe, right? So now I should be able to feel my heart rate once I'm not talking. When I do that, I want to take a look at the clock. I want to count how many beats I feel in my 2 fingers for 6 seconds. So it'll take 6 seconds to do that. When the clock is done with those 6 seconds, all we do is we add a 0. So that's about how many times your heart is beating in a minute right now. So go ahead and enter that on the form as your resting heart rate. So let's go through the functional exercises for today. Now how it's going to work is we're going to do these in a complex. So what will happen is I'll do one exercise, right to the next, right to the next, then take like a 30 second to a minute rest if needed. Or you can jump right back up to the top and go down those exercises again. Assuming you don't have much equipment at home, I'll also give you guys some options for things that you can use around the house to add a little bit of resistance. But again, perfect technique is the key. We're also going to be talking a lot about functional patterns each week. We used to talk a lot about muscle groups. What muscle is this working? What muscle is that working? And we've talked about in the past, it's really not how the body works. Your body works in functional patterns. So we want to always make sure that in a functional workout, we have a squat or a lunge pattern where my knee is the dominant joint. So squat, hinge, which is a hip hinge, where my hip is that dominant movement point. That's where I'm going to use my hamstrings, my glutes, the back side of my body. And upper body push, which either can be horizontal like this or vertical, up and down like this. And upper body pull, which can either be horizontal like this or even vertical like this, pulling yourself up. And then core. And core is anything where I'm bracing my core. We don't really do sit-ups or crunches anymore. It's just not really what our core is for. Our core is for bracing. So we're going to have a lot of those exercises as well. So the golden rule, ready? Squat, hinge, push, pull, core. Squat, hinge, push, pull, core. So there will be a question on the form as far as what an exercise is. So just pay attention to when I explain the exercises, what pattern that is. So here we go. Let's talk about the first complex. This is going to be a squat. Okay, so obviously it's the squat pattern, that knee dominant pattern. So for a good squat, first of all, we want my feet underneath my shoulders, so past my hips. The first thing we want to focus on is that my heels are down on the floor. We don't want our heels to pop up, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to sit down and back. So if you're watching me from this angle, I'm going to sit down and back, nice and slow, spreading my knees out until my upper leg is parallel to the ground. My chest is tall so you can see what's on my shirt if you're in front of me, and then stand up. So again, it should look like this, about a 1, 2, 3, and up. My heels stayed down. 1, 2, 3, and up. So that's what our squat should look like. Don't drop down really fast. Think about that controlled lower and up. Now, let's say you want to add some weight to that. A few ways you can do that. The first thing is if you have some weights at home, you can take a dumbbell and just connect it to your chest like this. It's called a goblet squat. So from here, same deal, elbows inside my knees, stand up. Even if you don't have any weights, we've done a lot with loaded book bags. Take any book bag, put whatever you can into it based on how heavy it should be. Some books, whatever you have around the house, connect it to the front of your body like this. Okay, same deal from here. 1, 2, 3, and up. So that would be the squat. The next one, we're going to get a little creative here with a pull because you might not have a lot of stuff at home to allow you to pull things. We're going to do a YW on our stomach in that good prone position, okay? So we can also add a little bit of a hollow position if you're up for it. So I'm going to be on my stomach on the ground. I'm going to pick my chest up. If you want to pick your feet up as well to add a little bit of a difficulty, you can. From here, I'm going to go out to a Y, into a W, and hold for 5 seconds. Squeeze in your shoulder blades and your back pockets, 5 seconds. Y, W, squeeze for 5 seconds. Squeeze for 5 seconds. Y, W, squeeze for 5. So you should feel that in your back. Again, you should feel your shoulder blades moving up and back. That would be our upper body pull for the day. To add a little difficulty to that, you could also take your hands and make the hardest fist you possibly can the whole time. You could even add some like lacrosse balls or something to add a little bit of that. That's just going to create more tension through your shoulders and through your back. So that's the YW, that's our pull. The next one is a plank. So the plank is one of the most butchered exercises on the planet. This is a core bracing exercise. So we see a lot of people doing planks and they can have a full conversation, hold it for a couple minutes. That's not what a plank should look like. My body should be nice and straight the whole time. Top of my head through my feet. What we want to think about, if you had a tail, you want to tuck your tail between your legs. You don't want to pop your rear end out. You want to tuck your tail in. Also, you want to create as much tension through your core as possible. So we're going to take our hands, palms down, and actually pull the floor to your body. That's going to create a lot of tension. So you should be shaking. You should be able to have a conversation. We're going to hold this one for 20 seconds. So how it should look, dig my toes, elbows are right under my shoulders, tuck my tail, pull my hands to my body, and squeeze as hard as you can for 20 seconds. Okay, so that's going to be the first complex. Squat, 10 of them. The YW, 5-second hold, out 5 times. So 5 seconds, 5 times. And then the plank is 20 seconds. You're going to do that 3 to 4 times based on your ability, how hard you want to work today, at least 3 up to 4 times. So I'll go squat, YW, plank, back to squat, YW, plank, and so forth. 3 to 4 times. So that's complex 1. When you're done with 3 to 4 sets of that, now we're going to go to complex 2. Now, the next one is the RDL, okay? Romanian deadlift, straight leg deadlift. This is a hip hinge. This is a very important pattern for knee health. If you're someone that cares about how fast you are and how powerful you are, for you athletes, preventing hamstring rips and things like that, very important. But also one of the most difficult patterns for people to understand. So what I want to think about is my hips are the pivot point. My hips are where that movement's going to come from. So now my feet are going to be underneath my hips, not under my shoulders, under my hips. What I want to do is just have a little bend in my knee. We call it a soft knee, but now lock it in there. I want to push my shoulder blades down, and now all the movement comes from my hips. So it's not an up and down movement, it's a forward and backward movement. So I think about hips back with this nice proud chest, flat back, and then stand. Hips back, feel it in the hamstrings, you play guitar on your hamstrings, and back. Okay, so that's the hip hinge pattern. So what I'm going to do is you can use this is a PVC, you can use a broomstick, you can use a hockey stick, you can use anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, again, I'm here in this position, I'm going to pull it into my legs, shoulder blades down, soft knee. Now I want to scrape my leg the whole time, it shouldn't hurt, but what we're thinking about is pulling tension so it doesn't float away. So it should look like this. Hinge back, 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 back till I get to the bottom of my knee. You should feel that hamstring. Stand tall. Hips back, 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 back. Feel that in your hamstring, flat back, stand tall, okay? So this is what that RDL should look like, scraping that leg the whole time. You want to have your neck brace on, so I don't want to be looking up. Nice neutral neck, good flat back the whole time. If you're feeling this in your lower back, you're probably thinking more down, where you're bending over. Don't think down, think hips back. If you don't feel it in your hamstring, think about pulling it into you and pushing back. Now, if you actually have a bar at home, some weights at home, feel free to add a little bit of weight, but just make sure you don't lose that good back position. Also, if you don't have weights at home and you want to add a little weight, get that book bag and connect it to your chest. Soft knee, hinge, 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 until you run out of hamstring, and then stand tall, okay? So that is the RDL. Make sure you feel it in that hamstring. Next one, push up. Another crazy butchered exercise. This is obviously an upper body push, but also a lot of core, because some people let their hips cave in. So the biggest thing is my arm position. You want your arms to look like an arrow pointing up towards your head, not a T, not an I, an arrow, or an A for awesome, okay? That's going to really help your shoulders stay nice and healthy as well. So I'm going to take my hands, and instead of having L's, I'm going to move it up to like a V. That's going to bring those elbows in a little bit. The next thing is my core. Same deal as the plank. Tuck my tail. Don't let your rear end pop out. So we're actually going to start by elevating your hands. Most people, this will be appropriate at first. Find a bench, find a chair, something stable, and you're going to put your hands on that, okay? So I'm here, tuck my tail, lower slow, my elbows look like an arrow, all the way up. Lower slow, my elbows look like an arrow, all the way up, okay? Now, if that's super easy for you, you can go down to the floor. But remember, my hips need to stay nice and level. Don't let your rear end pop out, and you don't want to look like a T. We see this all the time, right? We want to be nice and controlled. Tuck my tail all the way down, all the way up. All the way down, all the way up. Now let's say that's hard for you, at like that bench position. You can even bring it up higher. Find something that's a little bit higher for you. The higher your hands, the easier it is. We don't really go on our knees anymore. We want to focus on that full body support. So I'd rather have you guys elevate your hands. So, based on that, there's a lot of ability levels. You can do either 5 or 10 of those. So the RDL was 10. This is either 5 or 10. The last one is a straight leg sit-up. Another core exercise. And although it's a little bit less about bracing, there's a lot of good stuff going on with my hips as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm always going to have my arms straight. I'm going to go down, touch the floor, reach to the ceiling. My knees are straight and locked. Then lower yourself as slow as you can, back down. Reach up, and then lower as slow as you can. Okay? So again, based on your ability level, you might go down a little further or a little faster. Just make sure those knees are nice and locked and together the whole entire time. Reach up for those. So that will be 10 of those. If you have something at home, if that feels super easy, you can add a little bit of weight, like a book bag or a 10 or a 20 pound. I wouldn't go much heavier than that. So again, that complex, 10 RDL, 5 to 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. You're gonna do 3 to 4 sets of those, all right? Now, after that, after the second strength complex, let's stop and check our heart rate again, okay? And there'll be a question on the form for this. Let's stop and check our heart rate. Just to see where your heart rate's at after doing strength exercises, you should see quite the increase. Now, when you're done there, let's get a little bit of extra cardio in, a little bit of extra conditioning, we call it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a timer, and we're going to do 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. Some people call it a Tabata. So we'll go 20 on, 10 off, alternating between these two exercises. Pretty simple, but a great underrated exercise, jumping jacks, if you do it right. So we're going to be here, nice and tall, spread out and clap. Here, up, here, up, here, up. So it should be coordinated. It should be all the way down, all the way up. You see a lot of this, right? I love our cheerleaders out there, your cheer jacks, right? You can go ahead and do those. But we're going to do 20 seconds of jumping jacks, and then you're going to rest for 10 seconds. The next exercise is going to be a crawl. So we've done these in warm-ups before. What we want to do is we want to start like on my hands and knees like a picnic table. Dig in my toes, pop up my knees. Now there's some coordination involved. I want to go left hand, right knee. Right hand, left knee. Okay, so I'm going to go back and forth. You can go like 5 steps out, 5 steps back. Just stay coordinated. Keep your hips level. Keep your knees down close to the ground. So this wouldn't be really what I'm looking for, right? Or necessarily rolling my hips over. So let's say that's too hard for you, which is possible, and it's totally fine. What you're going to do instead is go back to where your hands were for the push-ups, and all I'm going to do, find that good plank position, and go opposite knee tucks. That's what I'll do instead. So either of those for 20 seconds, then I'll go 10 seconds rest, and go back to jacks. I'm going to do the whole thing 4 times. So 20-second jack, 10-second rest. 20-second crawl or knee tucks, 10-second rest. Do that 4 times, okay? Feels easy, you got more gas, go ahead and do up to 6, okay? Now after that, we're going to get our heart rate again. And this should be where your heart rate's the highest. So again, get your heart rate, count for 6, add a 0, enter it to the form. So, that's a lot of information. Again, quality of the movement is first. Feel free to add some difficulty, just make sure it doesn't impact the quality of the movement. On the form, you'll do your heart rate 3 times, beginning, after strength, at the very end. Then I'm going to ask you how you feel. Okay, tell me, not just I feel good or I feel tired, like how do you feel? How did this make you feel mentally, emotionally, physically? What are some specifics as far as how that makes you feel? And the last one is I'm going to ask you which pattern the push-up is. Which pattern the push-up is. So, that is the remote workout number 1. If you have questions, reach out to me and we will help you out as much as possible. But have fun with this. Have fun with this, and we cannot wait to see you soon.